Hey there, gang. Piano Man Steve Lungrin here. Sorry for this very strange camera angle that you've got right now, but I just wanted to give a brief intro. Many of you have been asking for a video that explains how to use the pedal effectively, the sustain pedal. So here you go, and I'm about to turn this over so you can see my foot at work. So I'm going to just kind of walk you through my basic idea of what's best for it, and I hope it helps. So I'll see you in a second, and I'll get this camera resituated so you can see the pedal. Okay, well, I hope you can see. It's a little bit dark down there. I do have my camera light shining on it, so I hope that'll get the job done for you. Please forgive me for the mess of cables and cords down there. That's the reality of being a musician and having a home studio. There's just a lot of things have to be hooked up, and they all have their own cable, and there's just no good way to organize it. Believe me, I've tried. But anyway, here's what I would suggest. This is my sustain pedal that I have hooked into my keyboard. And I'm going to have the camera focused on that rather than my fingers. My basic technique that I use is I like to lift up and go back down on the pedal basically every time we reach the end of a musical phrase or when we switch to a new chord. Okay? Whichever one comes first and however frequent. So in other words, when I say musical phrase, I just mean like a musical idea. Let's take the song Yesterday by the Beatles, for example. I'm playing along here and we go, yesterday, all my troubles seem so far away. Now it looks as though they're here to stay. Oh, I believe in yesterday. Okay, now what did I do? Well, let's talk about what a musical idea would be, or a musical phrase. For me, the first phrase is yesterday. The second phrase is all my troubles seem so far away. Then I got another phrase, now it looks as though they're here to stay. Oh, and this is another phrase, I believe in yesterday. Now, in this particular song, there's a lot of different chord changes within the phrases. So if you listen to it, I'm on one chord here, yesterday. Then we have a chord change, so I lift up real quick and come back down so that I don't, if I don't, here's what happens. Listen, if I just leave it down, see how muddy and awful that was? Okay, because I let one chord bleed into the other. But lift up real quick and back down, so we still have sustain, but it's for the new one. So I went 1, 2, 3, 4. See, every time there was a new chord, I lifted up. So, in other words, that's one good indicator, is if you're changing chords, let up and come back down, because you don't want the remnants of one chord to bleed into the next chord. And, you know, that's kind of a good indicator for me. I do that a lot. But then I wanted you to see when I went into the second verse, that was a good example of the chord didn't change, but there was a phrase, a new musical phrase. So watch what happened here. I was going, I believe in yesterday, to the same chord, but new phrase. Okay, so watch what I did. I'm going to be on an F chord, but I'm going to stay on an F chord, but I'm actually going to lift up because I've hit the end of a phrase in the beginning of a new one. So I went, I believe in yesterday, F chord, 2, 3, new phrase. Suddenly, even if I didn't have that little pickup, watch this. I believe in yesterday. Suddenly, I'm not half the man I used to be. There's a shadow hanging over me. Oh, yesterday came suddenly. Why she had to go, I don't know. She wouldn't say. Okay, so really that's your first clue, is that you want to look for chord changes so that you don't bleed over. But sometimes you have the same chord going for a while and you just kind of reach the beginning of a new musical thought and you want to go there. Let's take something a little bit higher octane than yesterday. Let's say How Do You Like Me Now by Toby Keith, for instance. And I'll tell you why I'm using it. This is a song that kind of doesn't change chords a lot. You're on... Okay, so you're coming into it. Chord change. 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 See there? Subtle things. Sometimes you're on the same basic chord, but there's a suspension or a grace note that you're playing for a second, and then you want it out of there, you got to lift up. So here I was playing a G, then I went to a G suspended, then back to a G, then to a G7, then C, G. Now that I'm on my way, so you see how I don't have to lift up quite as often because this song doesn't have tons and tons of chord changes. You know, it's You May Be Right by Billy Joel is another good example of this. You're going, you know, Friday night I crashed your party. You're staying right here on the same chord. Okay, Friday night I crashed your party. There's a new musical idea right there. So you have a phrase, Friday night I crashed your party. Now, I tend to mark those things with like a little instant suspension and then back to tonic kind of thing. So I'll be like, which gives me an excuse to lift off the pedal just to prevent a chord from bleeding into another. But if I didn't, it's still a good place to let up simply because it's the end of a musical phrase. So it's Friday night I crashed your party. Saturday I said I'm sorry. Sunday came and trashed me out again. Chord change there. I was only having fun, wasn't hurting anyone, and we all enjoyed the weekend for a change. a song where I'm just kind of letting up because we've reached the end of a musical phrase, not so much because I'm changing chords. And that can be a useful tool as well, because a lot of songs don't have tons and tons of chords. And that doesn't make them bad songs. You know, some of the best songs in the world are 2 or 3 chord wonders. You know, a great example, Hank Williams has a song called Jambalaya. It's just going back and forth between C and G. Goodbye, Joe, we got to go, me oh my oh. We got to go, pull the road down the mile. Now in a song like this, see, I'm barely changing chords at all, but I'm letting up all the time because I'm trying to create a bouncy feel. So I want some sustain, some sustenance, if you will, but I don't want it to echo through the whole song. I want to create a lively boom, boom. That's just kind of following my left hand. Bum, dum, bum, dum, bum, 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 dum, 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 so that right hand can bounce. Now, could I do that without the pedal? Sure. But if I go to do a solo or something, all of a sudden it gets a little empty. It's just a little bit better with the pedal down there while I'm bouncing it around. So what you kind of want to do is you kind of can move, you go up and down as often as you want. But for me, I've kind of got my pedal in lockstep with my hands. It just knows when I'm about to shift to a new chord. It knows when I'm about to change to a new phrase. And it just kind of goes up and down. And I personally believe that you're better off using the pedal more than you need to than you are to use it less. So a lot of times I'm almost just keeping time with my foot down here on the pedal, and no big deal, you know, because there's sustain going on quite a bit, but So see, on something like that, I'm actually playing it quite a bit. I'm just kind of tapping along when it's important. If the bass line goes into a run, dum 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 boom, boom. And I'm coming up and down off of it a lot when I'm moving my right hand around doing a lot of cool licks. Now, if I were playing in a band with this going on, I probably would do most of that without the pedal at all, because part of the reason for the pedal is by creating a little bit of reverberation by yourself when you're playing, the little bit of echo actually kind of helps give it a little more panache, if you will. But if you're playing in a band, you've got a bass player down there having a nice resonance. Boom, boom, ba-boom, a-boom, 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 and you've got some guy up top going. You know, and so you've kind of got that covered. That resonance you're looking for is already covered, so you can just be here doing your little, you know, you can just come up and start going. You know, and you don't need a pedal. So I'm a little bit choosy. I don't use the pedal tons and tons when I'm playing in groups, because that resonance, that echo actually kind of a lot of times will get in the way. I use it in ballads. You kind of need it all the time. If you're playing a piano ballad, even when you're with a band and you're going, you know, even with a band playing under you, if you were just going, that's way too choppy for that kind of song. But on faster songs when I'm playing in a group, I don't use the pedal tons. I tend to just let it go. So I use it a lot more when I'm playing solo than I do in groups. But that's what I would do, is try and focus on, you know, lift off and come right back down when you're making a chord change. Lift off and come right back down when you come to the end of a musical thought, if you're not making a chord change. A lot of times you have a chord change when you're starting a new musical thought, and that helps. And then don't be afraid, you know, to use it lots. Keep time with it when you're on a bouncy song and you're playing by yourself, because you'll get some reverberation and get a little bit of the, like I say, the gravitas that comes with it, but you're not going to be too muddy, because you're not giving it a chance to get muddy. Same thing would be true here if you were doing a walking bass pattern. Just basically, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way through. That kept it from bleeding, but at the same time, it gave it a little bit, because if I just... Now with the pedal, see? like the sound of it when I'm playing by myself, to have a little bit of pedal, but you definitely don't want to hold it and let the chords bleed into each other. So this was a very strange video to shoot. You got to look at my feet the whole time. I don't know if I'll ever shoot another video like this again. It was a strange experience, but I do hope it was helpful. I hope that it explained a little bit about what the sustain pedal is good for and how you might be able to most effectively use it. So I will end this now. And if you have any other questions about the pedals, you know how to contact me. Just let me know, and I will be happy to try and answer them and make more videos if need be. So thanks a lot, gang. Talk to you soon.